Welcome into the Snapped Podcast, my personal audio journal. My name is Tyler Kluber. I'm a personal trainer and podcaster, but it gets a little bit deeper than that, and this show is going to give you an inside look on my thoughts concerning health and fitness, business, mindset, and creating the life that you feel lucky to live. I hope you enjoy the show. Sit back, relax, and let's have a day. We are back Wednesday, December, almost said November. December, my people. The 1st, which means it's the best month of the year because Christmas is in December. I'm a huge Christmas person. And that's just what it is. I love getting gifts. I have grown to love to give gifts. And immediately after Thanksgiving, it becomes Christmas. Trees are up, lights are going up all around town. It's fantastic. Eggnog, Christmas music, Christmas movies. It's not what today is about, but that is what December signifies to me. It is the 1st. It is, in my world right now, championship week. I believe this episode is, I already created the thumbnail for it. I think I called it Title Fight, which is a catchy little buzz word of an episode. What does that mean? We're going to get into it. Hope everybody had a fantastic Thanksgiving last week. It was a fantastic week for me in many ways. In other ways, it was one of those weeks where, and this is kind of the nutritional diet fitness side of me, by the end of the week, you're just a little bit burnt out. I was able to fortunately manage to get in. Did I work out every day? I think I worked out every day. Even though we were in Nebraska twice, we lucked out. One of those was on Sunday, my off day. Worked out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Let's see. Thursday was obviously Thanksgiving, the actual day. We went to Nebraska again on that day, but I worked out before we left. I was able to work out on Friday before we watched the Iowa football game, which is part of what today's episode will relate to. And then I worked out on Saturday after I did the radio show for WMT, in between that and my last Thanksgiving. And by the end of the week, I was stuffed. Dude, you eat 4 Thanksgiving meals. I am good on Hawaiian sweet rolls for a couple months, man. And in fact, I probably won't eat any until like Easter again. But by the end of that week, holidays, they can be stressful. They can be anxiety inducing when it comes to, I need to stay in my rhythm. I got to stay in the groove. I can't lose progress here. But at the same time, you want to enjoy yourself. So I hope everybody found a way to do that and that's probably a whole nother episode. Last week, I gave you my 3 tips on helping to stay in the groove on a holiday where you're eating big. We could go deeper into that at some point. My week has gotten a little crazy. This isn't so much going to be a informational, instructional, educational podcast. It's more of a tying it into Thanksgiving, and I want to represent gratitude as a theme for this episode, because this week and what is going on in my life this week is something that I'm extremely grateful for. Never really had a family that did the whole, all right, now before we eat, let's all say something we're thankful for, or at the end of it, But if we ever did, this week that we're currently in is one of those weeks for me. Iowa was able to make a odds-beating comeback on Friday, down 21-6. They ended up beating Nebraska 28-21 in Lincoln. Great football game in the second half. which kept their hopes alive to go to Indianapolis for the Big Ten championship game, a place that I have been as a part of the team, a place that you do not see very often. If you are on a Big Ten team, other than if you're not on Wisconsin or Ohio State, you haven't seen that place very often. In fact, the opponent of Iowa this week is Michigan, and this is the first time that they have seen the Big Ten championship game. Penn State has never seen it, I believe. Michigan State has seen it twice. Ohio State has seen it basically every other year. On the west side, it's been Wisconsin majority of the time, Northwestern twice, and now Iowa twice. An incredible opportunity for the men on that team. A life-changing sort of night as far as perspective in a young athlete's life or a young man's life. And that's a whole nother episode as well. But what had to happen to get us there was we had to sort of play the waiting game. And anybody who listens to this podcast is most likely in Iowa. I mean, I don't know how many people listen to this thing that didn't come from the Washed Up Walk-Ons, the Army, the listenership over there, which I hope you're enjoying the content this week. We got an extra podcast out with Tavon yesterday. Great preview episode, half recorded already for tomorrow, doing the rest of that tonight. And when Minnesota was able to take down Wisconsin, just somehow row the boat and get that shit done, all of the sudden, plans that we were very hopeful for and fairly confident in 6 weeks ago when Iowa beat Penn State, we bought our tickets, we bought hotel rooms, we bought 10 tickets to the Big Ten championship game and 4 hotel rooms. Like, we dropped some dough a month and a half ago, expecting that Iowa, even with a slip up or two, would be able to get this done. And 21-6 down on Friday in a Black Friday game against the Huskers, it was looking bad. But nonetheless, they come out on the other side of it. And that sort of leads me into the week that I'm about to have, or that I'm currently having, right in the middle of it. All of a sudden, we're like, wow, we need to get a ton of people on the podcast this week. And we reached out to a bunch. A couple were able to come on, a couple weren't. Content just, as much as we can pump it out, right? I recorded 4 podcasts, 3 of our own and 1 as a guest on Monday. And I'm like, holy shit, what has my life turned into? I just turn on this microphone and talk, and it doesn't even make any sense. Listenership, obviously, the numbers, the excitement for Iowa football has gone up. That correlates directly with the success of our podcast, how many people are tuning into the episodes. So we've seen a huge uptick, numbers that were closer to when we were 6-0 a month and a half ago when we bought those tickets. Everybody's hype on the Hawkeyes. And we happen to be a producer of Hawkeye content, which means it's a big week for us. In 1 week, we now had to plan, okay, when is everybody getting to town? The whole thing was, this is our first opportunity to do a meetup with the Washed Up Walk-Ons live in person. And we have never been able to do that before. Our brand really grew in late 2019 into the year of 2020, and then took a whole nother step of growth just this year, 3.5 months ago in August. And the only public event that we've been able to do as a trio, because Kevin lives in Coralville and Drake lives in Arizona. He actually just moved to Nashville. He's getting there today. But we've been in 3 separate places. Our podcast is a remote operation. We've never been able to do an in-person meetup with all 3 of us, other than we were the guests at a celebrity iClub golf outing in May of 2019, which saw a bunch of people from Kansas City, Hawkeye fans, not necessarily all listeners of the podcast, and it was a very limited amount of people all spread out over a golf course. We got to see some of them at the dinner, right? So this, just over 3 years into doing this show, we've cultivated an audience and a following and just a loyal listenership. And this is sort of a first ever culmination of that in person, a live Washed Up Walk-Ons meet and greet. And to say that is something that feels almost dirty. A meet and greet, a Washed Up Walk-Ons meetup. Like, who am I? Drake, Kevin, me. Who are we? Why do we feel so entitled? Why do we think, why should we be the ones who people are literally reaching out to? Hey, where are you guys going to be? Let's basically have a party together. We want you guys to be the star of the show, right? But that's what's happening. And I'm obviously extremely grateful that the Hawkeye community cares enough to everybody wants to hang out with us on Saturday before the game. That's cool as fuck, right? Being popular is cool. It strokes your ego. Something that I really come across poorly with compared to most people. Like, it is so sick that these people want to hang out with us. But even more than that, it's a representation of the people that listen to our podcast and the product that we're building with this show. And I am grateful for it. And I don't honestly know really what else I'm trying to say. I almost sit here telling you this because I'm insecure that it will go away, right? Like, I think part of me, because I have a hard time admitting that I'm grateful and taking time to smell the roses and taking time to appreciate things, I almost think I do this halfway because, if I do a podcast and at least take a second to be mindful about this, maybe karma will be good to me and this will last for 5-10 years. Who knows, right? Because my life right now, man, it's perfect. It's perfect. There's nothing wrong with my life right now. It's been that way for a while, and barring any crazy, unforeseen events, we're set up for it to be this way. A lot of that is financially, right? Like, financial plays a whole part in this. The podcast has grown into a financial stream of income that will be steady and look solid for the next 2 to 4 years. And that might not sound like a lot to you, to everyone else, but my anxiety is like oftentimes just trying to hang on for another month or another 3 months. And so when I see something that looks really, really solid, would be hard to tear down or lose or let slip from your fingers. Like, it would be very difficult for this to just all go away as long as we just keep doing what we're doing for at least another 2, 3, 4 years. Man, that feels like the world to me. And it's people that are listening to our show and allowing us to do this and allowing us to, we're growing at an insane rate. And we really even haven't seen a lick of money from any sponsors yet, right? We're just looking at, for those that are interested or know about the podcasting or radio world, there's really like sponsorships and there's advertisers, right? The advertisers are the ones where you hear, all right, we're going to go to commercial break. We'll be back in a second. And then you hear them come on. McGrath Auto, we've got a whole new lineup of 2021 Ford F-150s ready for you to buy. And they come on and they talk about like trucks or whatever they're selling for 30 to 60 seconds. That's an advertiser, right? And they pay great money. But who pays even better money are sponsors, title sponsors or sub sponsors. And we've got a couple of those lined up. And when you put the advertisement money and the sponsorship money, this podcast has become and then you add the Patreon that we're doing and the merchandise that we're selling, the money that we've been able to grow this thing into capital wise, fuck what we're making personally, right? Like, because I'm not, every bit of the money is going back into the podcast, right? Because that's how we've grown this thing from the jump when it comes to the money side of things. You know, we'll make enough. Kevin has a job. Drake's taken care of financially. I have multiple other sources of income. Plus I pay myself just enough from this, but the money that we're able to bring in is unbelievable. And it's opening doors and it's unlocking this entrepreneurial bug inside of me and the guys that we just want to take this thing to the fucking moon, man. We're talking about, setting up our own golf tournaments now, setting up events, doing stuff like this weekend where we can pay to travel. We can pay to stay in nice hotel rooms. We can pay for tickets to games, all with company money, for lack of a better term. We've elevated. We've taken a step up. Like started from the bottom. Now we're here. Here isn't quite the top. It's not even fucking close. We're just getting started, but it feels like the top when we started this thing as, hey, let's just have fun and talk about Iowa football. And so that's kind of where we're going with this. You will find me after a week's worth of just insane amounts of content for our exclusive content platform on Patreon. For the normal listeners, we will put out 3 episodes in 5 days. We'll find ourselves, I'm going to find myself in Indy Friday night, having a nice steak dinner with my wife and my brothers, waking up the next day. We'll get to what I'm doing in the morning, but then, that afternoon, we're going to have a freaking meetup with, at this point, I think over 100 people are going to show up to a bar and listen to us do a radio show and meet us and we'll sign autographs and we'll take pictures. And it's so absolutely off the wall absurd. And I'm just here speaking into the void that I could not be a luckier human. I love my life. And I don't want to miss the opportunity to, when life is really good, not knowing how life could be the next day. You never know what happens when you wake up in the morning. I just want to take a moment to say, holy shit, this is cool. Really cool full circle moment. So this podcast is called Snapped for a few different reasons, right? There's double meanings to that word. Obviously, I was a long snapper, right? It's a catchy, 1-syllable word that kind of fits for a podcast name, right? So there's 2 reasons. Number 3 is when someone kind of goes off on a topic on their own, you're like, oh, he snapped. Like it's some slang for, oh, he told it how it is or whatever. And so there's a third sort of level of meaning. Well, that first level of meaning, long snapper, is sort of coming full circle. Obviously, I was the long snapper for Iowa, which is why I do this podcast. It's why I'll be in Indy this weekend. All of the sudden, many of you know who Sean Johnson is. She's from Des Moines, Iowa, was in the West Des Moines Valley School District before I think she dropped out of high school, finished in some other way while she was doing the Olympics and shit. She ended up marrying Andrew East, who was a Division I long snapper at Vanderbilt, and then bounced around with like 6 or 7 different teams in the NFL for 2 or 3 years trying to find his way. Played in like 1 NFL game as a starter, I believe, on short notice. Never really had an actual career, but, made some money bouncing around. And now they are content creators who live out of Nashville. Well, just so funny enough, Drake is moving to Nashville today. So there's a connection. Andrew and I are both long snappers. He's from Indiana, like 20 minutes from the hotel outside of the city. He'll be back in Indiana. Sean is from Iowa, so she knows and cheers for the Hawks. They are both into CrossFit, of which this podcast is also about. So all of these things are like weirdly intertwining for this weekend. And last night, we're scrolling through Instagram and my wife, Lauren, she goes, they're going to be in India this weekend. They're doing a meetup. I'm like, holy shit, when? Just so happens Saturday morning at CrossFit Westfield in Carmel, Indiana, another connection, John Kenny. If you guys go back, somewhere around episode 2, around 200, just after 200, we had John Kenny on. He's from Carmel, Indiana, was a former teammate of ours. There's a CrossFit gym in Carmel, Indiana, where Andrew's brother works out. They're hosting a meet and greet and a workout for people to come and meet Andrew, Sean, and like 7-time CrossFit Games athlete Noah Olson, who's a legend in CrossFit. So not only am I going to be in Indy, I had this open morning until Drake and Kevin get there at noon, but now at 8 o'clock, I'm driving 30 minutes north to work out with Noah Olson and Andrew and Sean and meet Andrew and Sean. I'm going to ask him to be on our podcast eventually because he was a long snapper. He played Division I football. He's a content creator. He's a popular person. And get to talk to Noah, and I get to meet them. And then, 9:30, 9:45, 10 o'clock, leave the gym, come back down into the city, hang out for 90 minutes, shower, and wait for the boys to come into town. Then we're going to lunch. We're probably going to walk around the convention center where there's a bunch of Big Ten activities going on for the two teams. And then at 3 o'clock, we're heading over to have our own meet and greet with our fans. It's just a fucking crazy day. Just a wild day. Not only that, but at the meet and greet, I've been doing the post-game show, radio show for the Cedar Rapids and Iowa City sports radio stations this year for the Hawkeyes. After Dolph and the main guys who are the commentators for the Iowa Hawkeyes, the voice of the Iowa Hawkeyes, when they get done, me and my guy Doug Wagner come on, and we're running the meet and greet from 3 to 6. And at 4, the radio show is starting live from the bar that we're at. So we're going to be doing a live show in front of the bar, in front of the fans. Drake will have a segment. Kevin will have a segment. Fuck, man. It's just like, it's going to be one of the best days of my life. And it feels, you see all these people, these content creators who travel around and they do collabs with other content creators or other entrepreneurs, or these two business people, they go on each other's podcasts and they travel, and it feels like I'm living that life this weekend. And that is crazy to me because that lifestyle feels so lived by few. So few lived, right? There's only a few people that just get to go and do that for a living all the time. Go and be on podcasts and collaborate and make YouTube videos. Like that's the dream of young people now, is they want to create in their own way and make content about what they enjoy. And I'm doing it, man. And it's a weekend full of fitness and football and business. It couldn't be better. And my wife will be by my side the entire time. And she's been so supportive. She's so ready for this weekend to be over. And I kind of am too, in a sense, because it's been a long season of traveling to Iowa City and back and all this stuff. But like, man, just getting to do life the way you want to do it and the way that makes you most happy is a really cool feeling. And I'm grateful. That's the theme. And I think in the end, it makes me want to work just as harder, at levels of hard that I don't even know exist, to continue to create opportunities like this and continue to make life look more like this as time goes on. What a fucking week it's been already, and what a weekend it's going to be. I'm glad you guys get to sit here and talk, listen to me like, and trust me, I fully understand how like arrogant and self-centered and egotistical this episode's content is. It's literally just me bragging about how good my life is right now. But like, I just wanted to inform people that, you know, a little bit of it's like informative, like, right. Like, hey, catch up with me. This is what I'm doing fitness wise. This is what I'm doing business wise. This is how the podcast is doing, all that stuff. But like the other part is just, you know, there's probably a lot of you who are feeling, or at least on occasion feel a similar way. Like, wow, life is really good right now. I'm getting to do exactly what I want to do. I love my job. Right. I guess the overarching, if you can sift through the ego of Tyler Kluver in this episode, is like find ways to just sit down and take inventory of your gratitude, because it makes it even more crazy when you really just soak it in. I'll leave you guys with this. The workout I did, I mean, it was a bigger workout. I did some light squatting, percentage squatting. I did some pull-ups. I did another workout with wall walks and double unders and push press. But the workout I finished with today, the piece that I finished with today was this, and I'd love for you to try it. You need nothing other than your body and about 20 square feet. 3 rounds for time. It took me about 9 minutes and 40 seconds at the end of all the other shit I did. 3 rounds for time of 25 burpees, 1 minute of plank. So you don't have to do a straight minute of plank for each round. You can do, you know, break it up into 2 30-second bits, but you have to accumulate a minute before you go to the next round and hit your 25 burpees again, and then a minute plank, 25 burpees, 1 minute plank. It took me 9 minutes and 40 seconds. Go do something that challenges you. Enjoy your life and be grateful. I'm grateful for you guys listening every single week. We'll be back again next week. Peace.